Welcome. Today, we are digging into a pivotal new study that explores the deep connection between cardiovascular health and depression. Now, we've known for years that these two are linked, but this research gets right to the heart of a fundamental question. Which one is actually causing the other?
So, before we can even talk about causality, we need to get a hand on just how big this problem is. A major new meta-analysis gives us the clearest picture we've ever had of just how intertwined these two conditions really are. Let's start with this number, 20.8%. Based on data from over 63,000 patients, that's the estimated number of people with cardiovascular disease who are also dealing with depression. So we're talking about roughly 1 in 5 patients. This isn't some rare side issue, it's a major clinical reality.
And the consequences are incredibly serious. What you're looking at here is the hazard ratio for all-cause mortality. In simple terms, this means that for a patient with cardiovascular disease, having depressive symptoms is linked to a more than doubled risk of death from any cause. It's a huge impact.
Now things get even more interesting when we break it down by the type of heart disease. You see a high rate pretty much across the board. But look at heart failure, or HF. It's the highest, at almost 25%. And even for coronary artery disease, or CAD, it's still a very substantial 19.8%. This suggests that certain heart conditions might carry an even heavier psychological burden.
So, seeing this incredibly strong link brings us right to that critical question, the one that's been a challenge for researchers for decades, the classic chicken and egg problem. Is depression just a psychological response to getting a very serious diagnosis and having to live with a chronic illness? Or could it be something more? Could depression itself be an active biological force that actually helps cause and worsen heart disease?
And this is precisely why it's been so tough to get a clear answer. Traditional studies are just messy. You have so many other factors to consider, things like lifestyle, diet, even socioeconomic status, that could influence both conditions. It makes it really hard to prove that one thing truly causes the other.
So to cut through all of that noise, this study used a really powerful and innovative genetic approach to finally try and untangle this complicated relationship.
This method is called Mendelian randomization, or MR, and it's a brilliant idea. Basically, it uses a person's genetic code, which, remember, is randomly assigned at conception, as a kind of natural, lifelong experiment. This lets researchers test for a causal link without all those messy lifestyle and environmental factors getting in the way.
And this diagram shows you exactly how they did it. It's a two-way street. First, they used genetic markers for cardiovascular disease to see if those genes led to depression. Then, they flipped it around and used genetic markers for depression to see if those genes led to cardiovascular disease.
Now, for this whole approach to be scientifically valid, it has to follow 3 very strict rules. These assumptions are non-negotiable. They ensure that any link the researchers find is clean and direct, flowing only from the genetic risk for one condition to the development of the other.
All right, so with that groundwork laid, let's get to the main event. What did the genetics actually reveal? This is where things get truly groundbreaking.
Okay, first, let's look at the effect of having heart disease on developing depression. The analysis found only one really strong causal link. A genetic predisposition for hypertension significantly increases your odds of depression. For the other conditions, coronary artery disease, myocardial infarction, and heart failure, there was a hint of a link, but it wasn't strong enough to survive the strict statistical checks.
But when they reversed the analysis, the picture became crystal clear. The genetic evidence for depression-causing heart disease was much stronger and much broader. A genetic predisposition for depression was found to causally increase the risk for coronary artery disease, for myocardial infarction, and for heart failure. What's more, a diagnosis of major depressive disorder was shown to increase the risk for overall cardiovascular disease. And, critically, all of these links remain significant even after the strictest statistical corrections.
And this quote from the researchers really sums it all up. What they're saying is that the genetic evidence points to a powerful conclusion. Depression is not just a psychological side effect of heart disease. Instead, it looks like it's an active, causal player in the biological process that leads to it.
So if that's the verdict from the genetics, what does that actually mean for doctors and for patients? Well, the implications for how we prevent and treat cardiovascular disease are profound.
The research also dives into the how. How could depression physically harm the heart? They identified a few key potential pathways.
The chronic stress from depression can disrupt how our bodies handle fats, it can drive up blood pressure through the nervous system, and it's linked to other risk factors and even behaviors like opioid use.
So, because of these strong findings, the authors are calling for a real paradigm shift in patient care. This means making depression screening a routine part of every cardiovascular checkup. It means creating care models where cardiologists and mental health professionals work side by side. And it means intervening early to manage depressive symptoms, not just for mental well-being, but as a direct strategy to protect the heart.
Ultimately, this research challenges a view we've held for a very long time. It gives us strong genetic evidence that treating depression isn't just about improving a patient's quality of life. It is a critical, direct strategy for preventing cardiovascular disease itself. The message is clear, and it's powerful. To truly protect the heart, we must also treat the mind.